Welcome to Culture Conversations, a talk show committed to explore a broad range of topics that raise awareness and build community around stuff that matters. My name is Nate.
Big Nate.
Hey.
Let's get it. Pew, pew.
And then over here to the right,
Wakandan King.
Brandon Nespong.
Yiddy. Mr. B-Ness himself.
Hey, man, it's good to be back on this show.
It is, man.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Nate, you and I haven't talked
Since episode 1.
Since episode 1, right? Like we talked for an hour on episode 1.
People think we tied on the camera. Like, honestly, it stays on the camera.
I mean, this dude literally will send me just a thumbs up to everything. I sent you a paragraph the other day, like, hey, Nate, here's what's going on. Let me know in the show. Here's the time I can do it. Dude sends me a thumbs up. Like, I low-key was a little salty about the thumbs up. Then when I said, okay.
Let it out, bro.
You sent me another thumbs up. Like, it's cool. I'm not tripping.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I was kind of salty because you couldn't shoot on Saturday because you had another pickleball tournament.
The truth comes out. The camera boy brings the truth out every single time. We about to talk
about this. So let me talk to you about this. How was pickleball? What were the stats? What did you do?
So it actually wasn't a tournament this past weekend.
All right.
But I got to play with some really good friends out here in Austin. Some of the top players in pickleball here in Austin.
Who are these people?
My friends. That's when you know you're guarding somebody, right? My friends. Like, okay. No, but they're good players. Yeah. So I went out there and played, and we'll normally play for about, I'd say from 8, 9 a.m. to about 2 p.m., 3 p.m.
So these are 5-hour games.
No, the one game will last 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Oh, so
but we'll play so many, right?
Okay.
We'll play so many games back to back. We'll switch it up, mix up with different teams.
Okay.
So I was doing that all Saturday, and then just hanging out with the wife, man. She had a few things planned. She's getting her event planning business going.
Nice.
Interning with somebody right now. So I got to spend a little bit of time with her after that.
Yeah.
And then Sunday it was do it all over again because I played pickleball in the morning. Man. That's why I had to push back what we were doing for just that one day, which I got the thumbs up for. But it was fun, man. I just like relaxing on the weekend, resetting my mind.
Right.
And sometimes I have to force myself to slow down the pace because I don't realize that I have things booked at every hour of the day. And that's what I realized with the podcast this weekend was, it looks like I'm booking too many things.
Right.
And what I didn't want to do is take away time from relationship, with my wife. So that later part of the night is usually her time to want to watch movies, eat popcorn, basically whatever she wants. And so I wanted to make sure I guarded that time specifically for her.
And you got to be, prime in that time too, because the energy that you have during the day, you got to keep that same energy when you come to the house.
That's tough. Yeah. I was listening to this podcast, E.T., the hip hop preacher, Eric Thomas, one of my favorite guys. And he was saying that, you'll go to work all day and you'll be a certain person, right? Full of energy. You're killing it. You're working hard towards whatever mission you have. Maybe after that, you're working hard when you're at the gym, right? You're killing it, pumping all that iron. You come home, you spend time with your significant other, and you start realizing that maybe you're giving them 60% of who you actually are, 50%. And so he said, just be cognizant of when you do come home, give 110%. Like be as full yourself as possible because, as a spouse, they deserve that. Your other side deserves to see you at your best every single time. So.
Yeah, very true. Very true. You got to prioritize those values, right? Because it's easy as, I guess me and you are pretty active and just in many different things in life. We always have things going and we're always hour to hour with so many different things that we value in life. And it's very easy for us to kind of misplace value sometimes and where it matters the most.
Right. I mean, you think, because home is your comfort zone, right? So you get home and you want to relax, be comfortable. But when you are dealing with a significant other, you have to realize that maybe that's their one time. There's times where, maybe my wife is waiting to see me all day, right? And vice versa. And so when they do see you, they have this, thing in their head of how they want to see you, how you walk into the door, right? And so you walk into the door slumped a little bit because you're tired. You're like, hey, what's up?
That's not going to work.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Like it needs to be a hug, pick them up. Like you have to do all of that. Yeah. So anyway, so I just try to make sure I was cognizant of those things this weekend, which is my elongated excuse on why I pushed back the podcast.
Yeah.
And why I got a thumbs up from you.
Yeah, I was salty, Kim.
That's when you know you feel like you won when you do that.
When you do that chin up.
Yeah.
Got you. No, man, I understand, man. Pickleball, wifey, got a lot going on in your life.
What about you, man? Haven't talked to you in a while. What's been going on?
Man, all right, so we're in Austin. It's freezing cold right now. I've been working. Exciting things is happening. A lot of exciting things, actually. South by Southwest is this week, in which our new documentary episode, Growing Up in America, State of Mental Health is Wealth, got selected as an official South by Southwest film. So I'm excited to screen it.
That's big, man. I want everybody to understand what's happening here. My man Nate had an idea in his head. He shot a short film, in a barbershop surrounding mental health and building awareness around it. Brought in his friends, coordinated, produced it, put it out, and now they're actually going to feature that at South by Southwest. Like, this is huge. This is huge.
I appreciate that. Like, as a person, I've always tried to use film and storytelling as a way to facilitate much needed conversations with friends, family, and people within my community. So whenever you see projects that you work on that come from an intimate place in your heart and your mind be displayed in such a public, well-respected environment, it's just an utter shock and disbelief, because you never really think, things that you think about daily could amount to such a huge platform. And I never create for the idea of being acknowledged. I always create out of the experiences that I have and the help that it can provide people's lives. So when I gather my friends like you, a few people in the barbershop, man, we didn't pay anybody. Everyone just came from the goodness of their heart, believing in the vision. And we shot a short episode on mental health, because that's something that's been affecting my family, my community, even like my, things I've been dealing with stress, and understanding how mental health is so important for me to navigate within my own life. So, everything I do is an extension of who I am. So it's cool to kind of see this be, screened at South by Southwest. So that's happening this Saturday from 11 to 1. And then I'm speaking at an event and doing some sort of interactive session on next Wednesday for South by Southwest. Okay. There is an organization called Rebel and Rest. And this session is to bring perspective on ways that you can combat racism and systematic racism, the way you can combat trauma that you experience online through many different ways. So the idea for this session is to use storytelling, something I've been really passionate about, on ways that people of color can be able to really navigate some of the harsh realities that exist today. So I'm excited about that session too.
I mean, that's good. That goes along with the theme of mental health and awareness. So, and they'll be playing the film before they have those discussions, or is it kind of surrounding that for Rebel and Rest?
For Rebel and Rest, we won't necessarily be showing the film, but I'll be doing something with from a production standpoint. Because the idea is to provide a space for people of color to feel very comfortable and rest. So we're going to be talking about everything from, meditation to there'll be some literature and things that people can read. There's going to be, I'm bringing my camera, my equipment. So we'll be doing some production, really getting to know people and the things that they're experiencing, to look at ways that they can open up in a comfortable manner. So it's going to be a creative space for people to engage and look at ways that they can get better from a mental health standpoint.
That's good, man. That's huge. So you said something key in there where you talk about reading, just kind of the knowledge standpoint, and versing yourself in a certain subject that you want to learn more about. And that's actually something that this year was one of my goals that I've been working on. It's just making sure that I read as much as I can, and kind of take in that knowledge, because to me it's literally free knowledge, right? Somebody else has been through certain experiences and they're kind of giving you their take on it. So you can take that book, you can read it, you can process that information and see how it applies to you in your life. And then you can read another book on the same subject. There's thousands of books on any given subject. It's not that I didn't know these things, but sometimes you get caught up in the new age of technology.
Right.
You want to read everything online. You want to get a short excerpt. You just want the summary, a quick synopsis of it.
Right.
You
Spark
don't
notes.
really, Spark Notes, right? Which I haven't used in a long time, but it's the same idea though, right? You don't want to take the time to read the full length story or novel, or read all of the steps of what's going on. And I'm proud of myself because that's been one of my goals this year to read actually a book a month to start with that. I'm at 3 so far this year, which is good.
So what's something you've been reading so far that's caught your eye?
Man, so as you guys know, I'm an app developer. So I read this book called How to Build a $1 Billion App by George Burkowski. Really good book. It gives you step-by-step procedures on, hey, here's what other people have done, like Instagram, like Facebook when they make apps, like WhatsApp. And so you can kind of follow along and see what things apply to you. That was a really good one. John C. Maxwell has a bunch of great books.
I love his books,
I mean, he has some of the books that if you're just looking,
books.
Leadership. If you're looking on a shelf, he has the books that just pop out to you as a leader, right? Because I'll look and I'm seeing how successful people think, oh, I got to get that, right? Like I got to go get that book. And it's not a long read. He has a ton of those short read type of books. So I read that one. And then currently I'm reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which everyone says is a classic. You need to read. So I'm really taking my time to process it and learn some of those things. But man, even in the short time this year, it's only been nearly 3 months.
Right.
It's been changing. I can see some of my mindset just taking the next step. So have you been reading anything so far this year?
Yeah. I actually joined a book club. So I've been kind of getting involved with that. We meet ever so often. But one book that I've been reading is called Designing Your Life. And it's a cool book because it's written by these professors at Stanford that created this curriculum around designing your life. So what they're finding through research is that, many students are graduating college and not knowing what to do with their life, or they're not knowing, where they quite fit in the workplace, or they may just major in something they think they're passionate about, but when they get into the workforce, they are caught by surprise because it's not what they really thought they would experience. So designing your life teaches you how to start from inside of yourself, looking at passions, values, interests, and learning how to build your way forward into what that could be for your life. So it's the idea of eliminating the boxes that exist in society and these positions and titles, and it starts from your core being. So they started it at Stanford. They do curriculums on this, and it helps people transition, whether you're in college or you're in your 30s, 40s, anything that has to do with transition in your life. It's a great read. And there's so much great value in the book, and we'll probably also bring it up within the show because today's show is about vision casting and goal setting, which I'm really excited about because
big topic. Yeah.
Me and you are all about visions. We're all about goals. That's something that I think we bond really well on. So whenever we talk, a majority of our conversations off camera have to do with, what we're working on, what we're aspiring to be and do in our life. We're always making each other better. So I think this is an exciting time for us to turn the camera on with episode 2 and talk about some of the stuff we just discussed off camera.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, we'll start first with goal setting.
Right.
So for me with goal setting, there's a couple different ways that I've looked at it, and there's things that have worked for me. One thing that I would say has hindered me at first was if I try to set goals publicly. Like it's not something that I'm able to do as far as social media wise. Really specifically social media is if I can't post my goals on Facebook or on Instagram, because when I do that, there's like a small sense of validation that starts creeping in, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and bigger. And what happens is my production gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Like I have way less productivity because of that. And I can't explain why. I just know that when it's on there, some part of myself says that I've already done it, because people have seen that I'm saying I'm going to do it. Right. And there's people that'll say, keep going, great job, I know you can do this.
It's almost like you're working towards things for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reason, right? Yeah. And so you get trapped into that.
Yeah.
And I know people talk about, well, in that case, do you move in silence, right? Do you not let anybody know what you're doing? And it just, to me, it just depends on what works for each individual person. What works for me is I know in our relationship, there's times we don't talk for months. Like, you know, maybe I'll say, hey, what's up? How's everything going? You say it's fine. Or you'll just say, hey, let's go grab some lunch, or let's go grab something to eat. Every time we do that, we end up talking about, hey, here's what I've been working on. You know, here's what's going on at the job. Here's the goals that I have set out. And so for me, that works best when I can just go ahead and just activate and work on those, and maybe let my loved ones know, like, you know, my wife knows exactly what's going on, my family, my really close friends. But other than that, I don't try to publicly declare what I'm doing, because that takes away from the 100% or 120% that I can give to that actual task. It's a strategy for me that I've had to shift, and it works better this way.
I found the opposite that's worked in my life as well. Even with that same thing, that idea of putting yourself out without having everything put together. And then because for me, instead of it being validation, it's accountability. So that's my side of approaching it. So for example, when I made my first film called Sincerely Ethiopia, I had no idea, had not made a film in my life. This was back in like 2010, 2011. And I literally went on YouTube and I told everybody my plan, my vision, and I was accepting like donations online and kind of like going crazy.
You were deep.
You
had to make it happen.
I had to make it happen, but you know, it was good for me because it fueled me and it didn't just validate me. You know, it wasn't validation that, oh, this guy's trying to make a film, but it was fuel. So sometimes for me, putting things out before it's even polished or perfect fuels me in order to accomplish it, because it shows that I'm doing this for something bigger than myself. You know, so it's a work
same
a different way.
Situation where it works, it hits us differently. You know? Probably my most simplest example is when I'm lifting weights. Like when we kind of talked somewhat about this, but if I'm working out, you know, if I post, let's say the first thing I'll say is I want to start working out. Right? I'll post, hey, I'm going to start working out. Time to get big. Hashtag
let's
get swole season. Hashtag shirts off. Right? Like something like that. Like let's work, you know? And what'll happen is I'll hit the gym. I'll go and give it 100%. That first day is easy, right? You're killing it, right? All the muscles are sore.
Hashtag mood.
Hashtag mood, right? So when I'm done, boom, quick picture of the bench. Just killed it. I'm out. See you later. See you guys tomorrow. Well, the next day I get there, and before the workout's done, maybe 3/4 of the way through, I'm like taking a picture of the weights right now, right? I'm not even finished with my workout. Taking a picture of the weights. I'm like, just killed that right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even done, right? And so my workout just starts to suffer a little bit more. And the most drastic thing that happens is at the end, I get to the gym. As soon as I get there, I park, I get out, little picture of the gym.
You got to take that setup photo.
At the gym again. This is life. Can't forget it. Getting swole, Texas. Let's go. And then I get a text from my wife or from my friend saying, hey, are you coming? I'm like, oh, I forgot. So I'm out, right? Like, I don't even hit the gym. I don't even hit the gym no more. I'm out.
But everybody online thinks you hit the gym.
Online, they're like, hey, that boy, hey, you know what? He kind of looking a little bit. And the only thing you're doing is doubling up shirts. Like that's the only thing. So I found, and that's the most drastic, you know, situation that it's happened, but I've moved away from that to just really looking at myself and saying, okay, what do you want? What do you actually want to accomplish? Go get that. You can be motivational online. You can inspire other people. You can even inspire yourself, but don't fall into the trap of self-validating yourself before you've even done something. Put in the work, right? Don't trick people to make them think that you're putting in 100% and you're not, because then I'm giving them the wrong picture of it. And so I had to just tweak that a little bit.
In the book, Designing Your Life, it talked about the idea of building your way forward as something that's a very healthy exercise for a lot of people that may feel stuck and not knowing what to do next. Because the idea is, you don't really have to be perfect to start, but you have to start in order to be perfect. So like it's a daily practice of constant work and building, you know? So that's something I've had to learn in my life, that I may not have all the answers of what this end goal may look like, but I had to start today with whatever is in my hand and who's around me. Kind of like the film that we shot, Growing Up in America. We started in a barbershop. Our friend, our barber, let us use the spot. He hooked it up, and then we got our friends together. We start building. And I didn't know what this film would even look like. I had no idea it was going to be featured in South by Southwest. All I knew is that, hey, there's a huge problem I'm seeing within our community with mental health. We have some talented creatives around us. We have skill sets with production. We have a vision. We have a goal. Let's make the best piece of content that we can within this barbershop. And then we got to start editing together. Okay, that step was done. Great. Now, pitching and marketing. Okay, cool. Let's do a big screening. We got a group of people together at George Washington Carver Museum. Did a screening with the mayor of Austin, Steve Adler.
It's pretty cool to see him come out there also, man. That was cool.
Right? Like local researchers, therapists of color that got a chance to share their expertise. We gave away 1 free hour therapy session with a licensed therapist, gave away 30 free minute consultations and resources. So that I didn't have that idea when I first talked to you about the vision, about how we're going to kind of blow this thing up in that area. But it was just a need, and I felt like we needed to meet that need and solve a problem. So it grew as we were building it forward.
So when it grows as you're building forward, talk to me about your initial goal, like specifically about the film that you made. Because your initial goal wasn't to have this film that the mayor's out there, it's at South by Southwest. How do you think about your goals in steps instead of getting ahead of yourself? Because you're a dreamer, right? You think about big, huge things. How do you stop yourself and think about the first goal first and just work that as much as possible and then build from there?
Yeah, I think it's the idea of not trying to avoid failure or mistakes. In the very beginning, I think it's a mindset. So our conversation is focused around how to turn a mindset into a lifestyle. So the idea is, for me, and how I've always seemed to work, is I try to grow a healthy relationship with failure from the very get-go.
Because it bonds you together.
Because it does. So, failure is a part of success. It's not the opposite of it. So when I first start within my step, in order to take that first step, sometimes we're so scared about failing and not reaching, our goals. But for me, I get excited to fail because it's a learning opportunity. It's reframed thinking. I switch the word failure for lesson. So I get excited about that first step just because it's about to be an amazing lesson that I'm about to learn. And I enjoy the journey. Like, I enjoy the process. I enjoy the lessons. So like for entrepreneurship and these different ventures that we're doing, like I love learning. Like, I'm an avid learner. So I think first it's developing a healthy relationship with failure. That's really helped me take the first step. And then that first step starts with what you know. And then you grow with what you learn. That's huge. Start with what you know, grow with what you learn. Start with what you already know. Don't try to be somewhere that you have no idea about. Start with what you know. So what I knew is that with this latest film, we had an amazing barber, Trey, that offered his space, and he was passionate about the vision. And then I had people like you and that were around that were just as excited for the vision, and we brought people together. I started with who I knew, and I didn't try to like shoot for the stars and get people that I didn't think would contribute to this project. I didn't try to beg for funding because I knew that we had cameras, we had people, and start with what you know,
just grow
with what you learn.
That's what it looks like. You're just growing it from within. And I like that because I know for me, so the example that I have when I first created my first app, Moto Buddy, it was something that I wasn't really sure the direction. I went to school for app development, computer science. And so towards the end, I'm working a different job. When you talk about designing your life, I'm working a different job that has nothing to do with my major, right. At Sonic. And then I slowly come back to making apps, and I had no direction other than here's a problem that I have because I can't find people to ride bikes with, motorcycles with. And so, well, let me create something that'll work from that. And I kid you not, maybe 200-300 failures within that first year and a half of creating an app. But every single failure made me stronger and stronger and stronger. And even to this point, some of the things that I'm working on now, I can look back and see how man, if I would have never started with that and went through all of these failures, I probably wouldn't be at this point right now, because it ignited something, and then you move this direction. All of a sudden it forces you to move this direction.
Right.
And when I looked back, I realized I've been moving forward the whole time. Even though I went sideways for a minute, then went forward, then went left, then went right, then went up. Like, as I look back, I've taken however many steps forward. It just was not a straight line. You know, it wasn't a straight line.
It's not linear.
Yeah, it's not linear. And so it's just interesting that you say, just start with what you have. Right. And the first goal is, whatever I'm looking to do, I'm just going to make it great in that capacity. Yeah. You only have these cameras, the barbershop, your friends, a couple people. Like, you bought pizzas for it, right? I think you bought pizzas for everybody.
Pizza,
you met friends. We had great conversations. Some of those people you'll probably know for maybe the rest of your life.
Right.
And so even if it just stopped at that, it was a win, is what you're saying.
Very true.
So there really was no failure that could have come from it. Yeah. But yet now, is it too low?
Oh yeah, you can tighten up right over there.
Right here?
Yeah, you can just tighten that up. We can keep going.
Oh, okay. There really was no failures out of that at all, is what you're saying. Yeah. And so that's interesting. If you take that perspective as you're doing things, you're only going to come out on the winning side. I had a conversation with my boss at work. This was the other day. We were doing some performance reviews, and we were kind of talking about, he's talking about where I was this past year, encountered a bunch of challenges. He was proud of some of the things that I've done. Right. And we ended up talking about just bonuses and making more money as you do in sales, right? I'm a sales manager there. And one of the things I said to him was, I said, yes, the money is definitely important, right? Because that's the reason why we go to work, to make money there. Right. But for me, slowly adding value in more and more ways, there's different things that I'm able to do at work. I said, that's what fulfills me, that satisfaction of continuing to add more and more value. I know that I can be satisfied with that when I leave, like if I'm done, or if I move to a different department, or if I don't move up to another position, because I know that not only am I helping the organization out, but I'm enlightening myself each step of the way, because I'm learning things that I didn't learn before. So there's really no failures at all. Right. And if you take that perspective, you almost win at everything.
You do, because failure is a moment, not your identity. Mm. And I think people don't understand that, because when they fail, they identify themselves with the failure, and therefore they have poor self-image of who they are, and they struggle so much because they feel like just because they failed at one moment, they're going to continue failing for the rest of their lives. But failure is not that drastic. Mm-hmm. Failure is not that detrimental. Failure is only a moment. It's not your identity. Mm-hmm. One question I want to ask you, and I think you can also speak to this about your own personal experience of developing the app. Mm-hmm. How do you keep motivating yourself when you are hitting a wall and nothing seems to be going right or going your way?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people talk about, what's your why? It's important, right? Why are you actually doing something? Simon Sinek, probably one of the best TED Talks. Right. Everyone talks about it. I actually bought the book, Start With Why. Right, I haven't read it yet. Yeah. I don't know if it's exactly the same as the TED Talk. Is it pretty much the same, or is it a little bit different?
I haven't read that book, but I've seen his talks, his conversations online. So
I bought that one also. A friend recommended it, so that'll be my next read after this current book. But if you remember your why, and so I went through a bunch of challenging times with MotoBuddy, just making the app, right? Because I'm navigating a space that I haven't been in before.
And just for everyone that doesn't know, MotoBuddy is a ride-sharing app for motorcycle riders.
Ride-sharing app for motorcycle riders. Currently, it's on iOS. You can go to motobuddy.com to see more information, or you can download it on the App Store, and we've got the Android version coming soon. Right. So I'm making this app for motorcycle riders so that they can converse with different people and see where they're at and find people to ride with. And as I face many challenges on it, I remember moments where I would message myself from the app, knowing that it was going to be delayed, because I'm working on some things and the messaging wasn't coming through smooth. Right. So I knew some things were going to be delayed, but I would message myself from there, saying things like, remember you're doing this for your wife, or remember the life that you want to live. Remember all the people that you're going to help find a friend for life because of this. I would send a bunch of those motivational messages back to myself. And there were actually times late at night, 3, 4 a.m. after working for 9, 10 hours. And I've sent the text 6 hours ago and I forgot. And so I'm getting ready to just shut it down because I'm tired. I've hit a wall. And then boom, the text comes in and says, hey, it's something like, hey, this is Ashley. You're doing it for me, because I was positioned in it that way. Right. And so it just gives you that extra motivation. To me, that was, and I've used that in all aspects of my life, even on my job, on other projects. I just really think of what I want out of life. Mm-hmm. And every step of the way, I kind of connect it to that. Like, how is this going to get me to what I want? Even us doing this podcast, I'll always like to learn and grow for myself. So we talked about, we could watch this, right? And if the only thing that happened from a podcast like this is for us to watch it and look back and say, man, I grew. Here's a time where I'm talking about reading books, and I didn't read books at one point. Right. Here's me talking about a book that I read that I got something from. Like, right. If I can always go back to these conversations, that's the value that I'm able to get from it. So once I take that perspective on every single thing that I'm doing, all of a sudden the motivation kicks in and I'm able to just really go 120% on whatever.
Yeah, I think we have very common whys of why we do what we do. So that's, I think, what keeps us moving forward. And I love that you developed healthy ways to reaffirm your why and reaffirm yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite stories that you share with me about you developing that app, hitting walls. And I think many people struggle because they don't create an environment that nurtures affirmations. So it's the people you hang out with that helps. It could be, what I do sometimes is sticky notes. I'll write sticky notes of like positive affirmations, whether it's Bible verses or just words of encouragement, quotes, and I'll place it on my mirror, a place where I know I look before I leave the house every single day. So I'll look at that, and then it'll just encourage me because it reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing, who am I, and allows me to really work for the right reasons. So creating an environment that nurtures affirmations is so important. I think that's something you really do pretty well. How has also marriage helped that? Because this is the thing. Sometimes people think think that, you know, when you're in a relationship, it may distract you. So like, as you're a guy, again, like I'm a single guy, he's married for 2 years now.
Married for 2 years now, been with my wife for over 12 years.
Over 12 years, all right? So my man's experienced.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Sometimes as single people, we come to this conclusion that relationships require a lot of work, and therefore it may deter us from our vision and our goals. With you, I've seen the different. I've seen something very different. You've become even more focused from what I've seen and fueled, because it doesn't seem that you're just working for yourself. You're working for someone else.
Right.
How has marriage kind of helped you with that?
Yeah. So your why is in the other room. Like, they're literally across the hall in the other room, or they're in the room, they're looking at you. And so what it helped me do was prioritize my time appropriately. Right. And really be intentional with the time that I spend on what I'm doing. Beforehand, it would be, I talk about the gym scenario. It's like, well, I want to go to the gym and do this. I might spend 2 hours at the gym and get in really 20 minutes of actual good work, but I'm there for 2 hours, right? Because it's like, well, I was at the gym 2 hours today. Well, with marriage and working on things, like, I have a commitment to her to honor what I'm telling her that I'm doing, right? Honor the vision that we set as a couple. And so when I'm working on, apps or any side projects or even a podcast, I want to be intentional more with my time, because I know she's on the other side waiting to spend time with me. Or this is time that I've taken aside because I'm committing to her that I'm working towards what our future is going to be. Right. I need to be intentional with that time and actually do what I said I was going to do. To me, that was the shift. And like, we've been together for a long time. But when marriage kicks in, it takes a turn up for me. It takes a little, it's almost, I liken it to some of my friends where, they have a kid and they're totally different, right? It's like, hey man, you going to this party? I don't party anymore. I've got goals now, right? It's like, okay,
I got mouths to feed.
Right. You were having a kid 9 months ago. And so now you're doing, it's okay. But it's that sort of shift where you realize that, all right, this is a little bit bigger than me. Yeah. And I've always had certain goals and things that I want. But when you're looking at, so your significant other or your child, and you want to give them the best life possible, and you're capable of doing that, if you put in 120% effort day in and day out, it's hard not to do those things. And that was the shift for me, where I turned an extra gear and said, why don't I do these things now? So that way, in 5 years, I'm not looking back saying, man, if I would have given 130% 5 years ago, I could have been here in 2 years. I don't want to say that. I just want to give it all that I have. And like we talked about before, even if I hit as many failures as possible, I'm taking them in stride, because I'm saying if I can hit as many failures as possible before this 5 years, I'm going to be far ahead than if I would have waited and hit some of these challenges 4 years from now.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, that's the shift.
Yeah, fail early, fail fast, fail now, like as fast as you can, because it's a part of the success. It's a part of the growth. It's a part of the journey. So you being able to kind of just put that aside, you're really delaying your own success and your own great, all the great things that are ahead for your life.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You're somebody that I've known you for upwards of 10 plus years, right? From college. You've always been doing filming and videos and personality. You've been talking to so many people and bringing people together. Yeah. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but for you, you haven't reached all of your goals yet. You've still got things that you want, right? We're talking about vision casting and goal setting. So how do you stay motivated when you're not where you want to be, but you're kind of moving closer, but it's taking a long time? Like, how do you gauge how far you are from where you want to go? Because if you would have asked me when Nate went to California, right? I hadn't seen him for 8 years, right? Until you connected with me and said, first thing this guy texted me was, let's make history. I'm like,
after 8 years,
dude, you haven't talked to me in 8 years. Like, you could at least say like, hi, how you doing?
I came back to Austin. I was like, let me hit my boy Brandon up. I haven't talked to him in 8 years. The first thing I text him, let's make history. That's just the type.
I mean, dude could have said, hey, big head, like nothing. Just said, let's make it. So anyway, you came back from there, but I had such high expectations and goals for you that I would have thought, okay, 8 years, this guy's been gone. Nate's going to be on TV. Nate's going to be in movies. Nate's going to be filmmaking across the world. Right. Nate's like, my goals were so high from what I had seen. And so my question is, from where you know your goals are, how do you constantly stay motivated when you're not exactly where you want to be and it's taking longer than maybe you've expected?
I think you always have to learn that, you know, what I'm doing has nothing to do in relation to what the next man is doing or where the next man is. So my job is not to make it to the red carpet. My job is not to get an Oscar in Hollywood, because none of those things define who I am. You know, my job is to remain faithful to the convictions in my life and to do what I love and meet the needs of the people that are around me and solve problems, because there's so many different things that we're being bombarded with in today's society that I feel that people are going through so much trauma, so much negativity. So I always want to be a vessel of truth, of hope. And I use storytelling, I use my talents and my skill sets for that to be a platform. So my why is very different. Sure, I've been on television. Sure, I've hosted events. Sure, I've traveled the world and done documentaries for television series. I've done all that stuff. But for me, that's not the outcome. You know, that's just something that just happens. It just comes with it. You know, that's not something I shoot for. So for me, when I say that, you know, like I'm not there yet, like I know I'm where I need to be right now because I'm staying true to myself and what I believe in, and I'm not compromising who I am. For me, I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and be happy with what I see. And having that inner peace, that surpasses any type of superficial success that
any
I make.
Accolades,
any
right?
accolades. That for me, that means more than anything. So I don't mind, you know, achieving, you know, a few things here and there. But for me, that's not my why. That's not what I'm driven by. And I think that's what weeds out people from doing what they're supposed to do and the people that are doing it for the wrong reasons. Because I always ask people about the idea when people go, you know, are passionate about something and they hit a wall or they fail, where is that line where you give up on that thing and move to something different?
1,000%.
Keep going.
1,000%.
And
that's where you know who's actually cut out for it, who's really passionate about it, and who's doing it for the wrong reasons. Right there.
Because, for example, if you're a ball player and you never make it to the NBA, will you still be playing in a rec league, or at the basketball court across the street, or having a gym membership and still playing ball because you have the love for the game, or were you only looking to make it to the NBA? Were you only after a position, a title, fame, money, things that come and go? So I always tell people, if you want to know the difference between whether you should give up on something or keep pushing forward and you feel like you're in that dark space, I always tell people, ask your why. What is your why? What is your end goal? Are you really doing what you're doing because you love it?
Interesting.
If you love it, then there's not one failure that can take you away from it. There's nothing, because you're going to do what you're doing no matter how much money you make. So nobody, look at us. Nobody has to pay us to put this camera up and to do this podcast. We're not getting paid a dime. We are doing this because we enjoy our relationship. We enjoy the lessons we've learned. We want to share it with people. And we, that's it. Like, so if this show, whatever we're doing right now, this podcast, this show gets picked up by HBO, great. But if it never gets picked up, it's still great.
We have a lot of things that never got picked up by anybody. And
Culinary Kings, and all these different shows.
And I still go watch those things, and I laugh at them. I enjoy them. I see that I've grown from them. We both have grown from them. Like, all of those things are not, sometimes we're with friends and we'll talk about those things, and they'll say, oh, I saw that. Like, that's enough, right? If nothing ever comes from that. And you said an interesting point. So everybody can look at themselves and say, I have a question about what my passion is. It seems like in this day and age, that's kind of the new thing. Everybody, well, what's your passion? Just work on your passion and that's it. And sometimes people can get misguided thinking that something they like to do is actually something that they love to do, which is their passion. And those things can be totally different. But what Nate's saying is, if you're not sure, just take whatever you think is your passion and go hard. Like, go as hard as possible until you hit a wall. And after you hit the wall, you'll tell us right away. You'll know right away if it was your passion or not. Because if you're sending yourself motivational messages at 3 a.m. to get past it, and you end up putting out that app that's not perfect, but you push through it, that took a year, it's probably something that you're passionate about, or some part of it is something that you're passionate about. If you're continuing to make movies and films and podcasts and bringing people together and talking about mental health awareness, and you're pushing past maybe not getting your show on HBO or next, if you're doing all of that, it's most likely your passion. That's the easiest way to figure out if this is something that you want to do long term that fulfills you when you talk about inner peace. Or if there's some superficial value attached to it that maybe sometimes you're not aware of until it's brought out because you've hit a wall.
That's true. That's facts. Because your passion, purpose, and calling is not confined by time. It's not confined by failure. It's not confined by mistakes. It's not confined by frustration. It's not confined by lack of opportunity. Believe me, that's what weeds people out all the time in whatever they're doing. Like, when you are doing what you're called to do, what you love to do, what you're passionate to do, it surpasses failure. It surpasses time. So if I'm 60 and just make it to, I don't know, a red carpet event where it's probably the biggest red carpet event in the world, great. If I make it in 2 years, great. But that's not my goal. Like, I'm not asking for validation. I stopped knocking on doors years ago. Now it's not about asking for a seat at the table. It's about building your own table. And that's what is so important. Like, I truly believe that because of technology, the power of the internet, and just who we are as people today, we have just as much power as large organizations. Right now, the power has been leveled off from powerful large organizations to the individual sitting in their living room. So right now we have as much access and power to reach audiences as Hollywood, as major networks. So I want young entrepreneurs, individuals, young people that want to be able to succeed, know that they can, and building their own table, building their own community, because at the end of the day, community is currency. So you are building your currency with community. Because financial capital is not the end all be all. There's cultural capital, there's social capital, there's relational equity. There's so many things that people just don't know their value.
Interesting. Like, look at the change in virality in the last, what would you say, 5 years, 6 years? Like, think about viral videos on how people can do anything, right? And millions of people can see them. There's some people that are in filmmaking for 20 years and never have a video or a movie that gets past 1,000 people, 2,000 people. But what you're saying is the power of the people now. you can create your own content.
Anything.
And if it's worthy, if people want to watch it, they'll find a way. You don't have to tag on to a big network or anything. And we're just using that as an example, but this could be the same as, maybe playing basketball, right? Sometimes people think the only route is the NBA.
Right.
There's overseas basketball, there's leagues, there's training. Like there's so many different avenues to get to where you want to go, that you don't have to latch on to that big agent. And that's the only agent that can get you seen by NBA talent. You don't have to have that.
You don't.
Like, the times have changed.
Yeah, the times have changed. So that's what I want a lot of young people to know, that, man, they have everything that they need right now to be successful and do great things. They don't have to wait for a door to be open. Create your own opportunity now. Know that there's value in you, in your culture, and in your community. So I want people to understand their significance, because we don't. And in order for anyone to have an authoritative voice over a certain space, you have to navigate that space regularly. So what you have now is you have corporations that are looking to extract value from, let's say, Black culture, hip hop. Let's talk about that. And they're taking that culture and they're taking these slang words and they're using it and they're pumping it through commercials and marketing certain products within their own agendas.
Right.
Because we haven't owned our culture enough. We're selling it short. So the idea is for you to own your culture, own your community, because there's value there. Once you know there's value there and in yourself, you won't give people discounts.
Right.
You won't sell yourself short. So know your value. Don't give people discounts. Build community around your culture, around your experience, because you're an expert of your experience. Build culture. And then what you do in that process, you build an authoritative voice. Once you have that authoritative voice, you are able to move the needle and move culture into the direction that you want in your life. So take ownership, get in that driver's seat, or somebody else will. That's just real.
If your mic could drop, I would just let it drop right now. I don't want to because it's expensive, but if it could, I would just let it drop.
Yeah, those are thoughts I have all the time in creating and doing different things. It's that mentality.
No, that's powerful. What you're saying is, and what I'm interpreting is, if you're your authentic self, be that all the way,
right? And
you will hit a point where now you're influencing people, and it's easier to live in that authenticity. Early on, it's tough because you're not sure, right? You have the social pressures of people looking at you a certain way, or should I say this? Should I not say this? But I think what happens if you look at any influencer, majority of people would say they're themselves. Right. One person that I look at on Instagram is Kevin Hart.
Right.
Kevin Hart is, from what we see, he's just himself, right?
Yeah, hilarious.
Will Smith, same way. He's just himself. A lot of people like them because they're like, man, he's so funny. He does this effortless.
Right.
They're their authentic selves every single day. They perfected the craft of being authentic daily. And sometimes, like you're saying, we sell ourselves short. And basically, we're selling off our authenticity.
We are.
Day after day after day until it's almost like my goal is to be exactly like you, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep selling my authenticity until I'm exactly like you because I like how you look.
That's the sad part about it.
Now we're both the same and neither of us advance because they've already got you. So why do they need you see what I'm saying? It's interesting to see that, but you're saying if we reverse that and you just be your true self day in and day out, right. That's where the power comes from, and we're not owning that as much as we should.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're a horrible somebody else, but you're the best version of you. So no matter what you do in order to be somebody else, you're never going to be them. You're going to be a diluted version of who they are. That's what you are.
Right.
But you can only be the best, purest form of yourself. You're the only one that can do that. So own your experience, own your story, develop that craft. Don't wait for doors to be opened. Build your own door, then open it and get yourself into the right rooms, because it's all about what you know and the people that you're building with you that are around you.
When I was listening to that Eric Thomas podcast, which I'll listen to in the mornings when I'm working out,
right?
He was talking something around the same thing about being your true self. And he said, a lot of times what I'll see is motivational speakers. They will read a book. They will follow this one motivational speaker. They will literally say every single thing that other motivational speaker is saying.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to it, he said, they're not hiring you. They're hiring the true motivational speaker, because why do they need you? You're doing exactly what that person is doing. But when you live in your true self, which is something that he's able to do with his own story, it works. people want to buy your authenticity, right? So don't sell it off before they purchase it.
That's so true. Very true, man. Man, that's good, bro. This has been a pretty good podcast so far, man.
Stuff,
I didn't expect it to go this long in the show.
I mean, what do you expect? We start getting on the mic. Usually all this is an insight to what conversations we normally have.
This is what we talk about
without
all the
any
time.
Cameras going on.
Seriously, like we'll just grab some dinner and we just talk about visions, goals, and we'll hype each other up to like the 10th degree.
Right. That's only thing we're missing is like, 10 or 12 cheesy jokes that usually come in.
I feel like we didn't have any jokes on this one. I felt like we literally just went in.
We pretty much did. We even say the Chipotle story, but maybe we saved that. I don't know.
Maybe we save it. Hey, just in case though, people may want to know about Chipotle. Here's my thing, because my man just came through with Chipotle.
I did.
All right. So this is the thing. Like I got this thing called the Chipotle hustle, and I was talking to my mans about this, about going to Chipotle. Chipotle, please don't sue me. This is just a shout out.
It's just a shout out.
Just a shout out, to people that are
creative.
Just being creative, aka broke. Here's the thing. This is what I started doing. My boy put me on back in the LA. So what I do when I go to Chipotle, first of all, when you go to Chipotle, even if you want to go in for a burrito, don't get the burrito. You'll walk out with it, believe me.
So don't get what you wanted to get.
Don't get what you wanted to get, because this is how you're going to get it. So what you do is you get in line, whatever, and you ask for a bowl, right? So they get you a bowl and everything, and then you ask for 2 free tortillas. Okay. That's the trick. Okay. A lot of people don't know that the 2 free hot tortillas are free. Okay. So you got 2 free hot tortillas already from Jump Street. You go off and you get the bowl. As they're pouring the bowl, as they ask you they ask you for what that you want in the bowl, then you say steak, right? So you start off with steak. They get the big spoon, because they got to get the big spoon. They make that one big scoop.
They get the big spoon.
And then they start pouring the steak into the bowl. Now, when they are 75%, you got to count that percentage. 75% of the steak is in your bowl. You got to switch it up on them just like that. Switch the game up and say, actually, I would like half steak, half chicken. So now they pour. so now they grab and they say, no problem. They put the 25% of steak that was left in that spoon. They put it back into that little bowl.
So you've gotten extra already.
So you already are 75% of protein right now. And then they add the 50% chicken, right? So they add the 50% chicken, the 75, that's half, with the 75% steak. Now you have a 25% profit protein margin. All right, so we're going up. We're going up,
Dude,
people.
Giving Chipotle financial advice.
So you're 25% with your protein profit margin. So you were doing good. They add the cheese, they add everything else, whatever the toppings, and then you walk away with a full packed bowl with great protein, great toppings, and 2 free hot tortillas. So now what you got is you got lunch for 2 days. Wow. Because you make 2 burritos. Holla at your boy.
Paid once, 2 meals. That is, when you're broke, you get creative. The only thing that I'm able to do, if I took this same story, I would just go up there and say, hey, can I get extra steak on my bowl? Extra steak, they're going to say, okay, no problem, right? Okay. Extra steak on my bowl, because I've got to get some for a friend, to say no problem, right? Yeah. Then as soon as they drop the steak on there, this is all you have to do. This will work every time. Right. Pull out your phone and go, oh, actually, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just single. That's going to be single steak on there. I'm sorry. Phone is off. You don't have to have text messages up. No,
it's that person's fault.
It's that person's fault.
So now
it's not yours. What they're gonna do is they're gonna say, no problem. Don't worry about it. We'll just use this as single steak.
Because Chipotle are nice people. And we're taking advantage of nice people. That's what we're saying.
So you're manipulating the nice people.
And you're not accountable. That person that's on your phone is accountable.
It's not me. It's not me. Let me text them and tell them I can't. No, don't worry about it. You let the decision be up to them. If they throw it away, that's fine. You just say, I'm not going to get him anything because he's making me do this. And just get what you want. You're fine.
Yeah, y'all heard of broke people problems? These are broke people solutions, right?
Broke people. One day we'll tell you how you can get 5 free pizzas without paying and not stealing either.
Oh, man. Man. The hustle is real, man. Yeah, the hustle is real.
Those broke college days, man.
Yeah, man. Good days for sure. Man, so any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, I think you know what's best as far as setting your own goals. So look inside yourself and see what's the best way that I can execute a goal that I'm setting.
Right.
And make sure you've cleared your why with yourself. So understand why you're actually doing something and stick to it. If you need to remind that, I almost said stick to it. It's not a pun, no pun intended, but Nate will say he puts sticky notes on his mirror. Right. I used to send myself text messages, whatever that is, constantly do that. Words of affirmation work. But remember your why. So stick to whatever solution of goal setting works for you. And remember your why. And I think if you keep those things dear to your heart, man, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah. I don't need to add on to that, but if there's anyone out there that is struggling with vision casting or goal setting, please reach out to Brandon or myself. We want to build a community around this show, around important things that do matter, like vision casting and goal setting. We just started off 2019. We're in March now. So we have about 9 more months left into this year before we get into 2020, right? So year's going pretty fast, but it's still not too late to start whatever you want to be able to do. So I am extremely excited about this episode. I think we had an amazing episode.
I think it's good, man. You just said 3 months out of the year, so 25% of the year is gone.
25%. Yeah, quarter. Yep.
Like that's profit margin on Chipotle gone.
Seriously,
right,
man, you got that profit.
That is that extra that's gone.
It's gone, but it's not too late. That's what I want people to know. So it's not too late. So be encouraged, get excited about what the rest of this year has to offer, and feel free to reach out. #Culture Conversations if you have any questions or new ideas for new shows that you would like to see.
Yep.
But until next time, it's Nate.
And I'm Brandon.
All right, and this was Culture Conversations. Episode 2.
Yeah.